Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our session today, dealing with the two sides of exposure for your business, both the digital marketing side as well as the IT security side. Today, we have two great presenters who will be able to detail out some of the aspects of both digital marketing and IT security. Please keep in mind that this is a introduction only, that won't be going into very deep depth. So if you have questions, please use the chat functions. The chat function will read all the questions at the end. So as you have them, please type them in at the end. We've reserved time to answer those questions. So my name is Brianna Dennis. I'm the Executive Director for the Kelly Center for Economic Development. And our two presenters, the first is Josh Richardson with Influence Digital Marketing Agency, as well as Matt Odom from Heritage Digital. So I'm going to turn it over to Josh to start this off.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for showing up today. I know your guys' time is valuable, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. Before we begin, a little bit about myself, so why you should even pay attention to what I have to say. I've been in marketing for about 25 years. The last 15 or so of that has been centered around digital marketing since its inception. Most recently, I started a company here in Florence called Influence Digital Agency, and have been working with quite a few of the local businesses in town on putting their digital presence together and making sure that they're able to be found online.
Hey, thank you guys so much for being here today. My name is Matthew Odom. I work at Heritage Digital, where I basically manage businesses' risk every single day. So I have an MBA from Francis Marion University. I worked in mergers and acquisitions for 5 years, and now I focus on mitigating business risk on the IT side of things. So your information technology infrastructure is your weakest link in any organization. So today we'll be talking about some things that you might want to consider as you start your business, begin your business. And I'm really happy to be here today and share my knowledge with you.
All right, so first thing, I'm going to go ahead and share about digital marketing first. So I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. All right, so the two sides of exposure. Are you looking to get exposed, or are you feeling like you've been exposed? Is kind of what we're talking about today. And the first part of that is digital marketing. As you all know, there's been some major changes in media over the past few years. It's changed from, you used to be able to go and it was a one-stop shop at these 5 different opportunities, either billboards, radio, newspaper, TV, or direct mail. And you could pretty much understand what was going to happen and what you were going to get out of those different types of mediums. Traditional media, mass media, referring to print, started in the 1920s. Radio came to the commercial market in 1923. Billboards have actually been used since the 1860s. And then direct mail was actually said to have started here in the South around 1835, when activists or civil rights groups were sending out direct mail pieces to churches and civic organizations, trying to get them to participate in that movement. TV was then added to the media mix in about 1941. So those were your channels of advertising. And then digital came along, and it caused there to be thousands of options to choose from, which are evolving daily. So you used to get everything you needed in that one area of those 5 different medias, and then all of a sudden it came along and just kind of went and blew that up. So now you have all these different options to choose from. So with the change in media, we've also seen a change in media consumption. This is what a living room used to look like. Everybody sat down, they're gathered around the TV, they're watching a program together. This is what a TV living room looks like today. Everybody's still there. Everybody's still gathered around in the same area, and the TV is still on, but they're also viewing multiple other screens. So they're all in a different journey, and they're all doing something. Even though they're together, they're doing something different at the same time. Direct search has also changed. Everybody remember the let your fingers do the walking with the yellow pages. Well, I guess if you're my age, you probably remember that. That's where people used to go. People used to go to the yellow pages when they had money in their hand and they were actually ready to make a purchase. Today, this is where they go. So when people today have money in their hand and they're ready to make a purchase, they Google it. And that is where people go when they're ready to find a person that they want to do business with. So with all that change, what also has changed is the customer journey. So the world is changing and the customer journey has changed with it. With the internet allowing so much information for consumers to utilize in an instant, their patterns of buying have changed. There are upwards of 24 different touch points to connect with your potential customers before they walk in your door. They also expect you to be trying to talk to them in all of them. So everybody remembers, well, you should probably, if you've done any kind of marketing courses or sales courses, you're probably familiar with the traditional sales funnel where somebody is a prospect, then they're going through that awareness phase and you're trying to move them into consideration and an evaluation and then purchase. And that was the traditional sales funnel. With the addition of digital media, it's changed that journey so much that it's gone to the different type of journey. So now people might start out with looking at Google to see what they might want to do later, or they check out social media and they're like looking for something to do. And then maybe they find something to do, but they want to see whether or not other people liked it. So they go and they look at the reviews, and then they might want to look at where that venue's at. So then they go up into online search, and then they might come back around to social media to ask some of their friends. So that journey can take many different turns and many different curves. And everybody that enters that funnel or enters that journey does it in a different way, starting at a different point and usually ending at a different point as well. And again, they expect that you're trying to be in all those opportunities to get in touch with them. So how do you do that? Well, the moral of the story is consumers use a variety of media channels across various platforms all the way through the customer journey, including the post-purchase. We can enter and exit in any moment for any reason, and no two journeys are the same. You need to be able to be present through all that. The only way that you're going to be able to do that is by using multiple different tactics in your media plan. And the only way to do that effectively and efficiently is to know what those things are and how they apply to your budget when you're planning for it. What's going to be the most effective? Even though the journey has changed, the keys to a successful media campaign have not. They continue to be the 4 keys to any successful media campaign is going to be, the first one is reach. You have to reach enough people, a large enough audience, because not everybody is looking for you and your product or your service at the same time. You need to reach them with enough frequency to cut through the clutter and to stand out so that when somebody is looking to do business, you're somebody that they remember. You have to do it consistently because the human brain can only handle about 400 different relationships at any given time. So if I met you today, somebody else just fell out the back of my head. That's just what happens. So I have to continually re-index myself as the business of choice for when people are ready to make that purchase decision. So I have to have consistency. And the most important part of all of it, that most people, they get a good plan. It's like, all right, make me an ad, let's do it. The most important part is the message. The message has to be something that connects with the people that you're trying to do business with, and it has to connect with them in a way that it causes an action. So it has to cause some sort of a reaction or an action. The right message being important. How long has a diamond been forever? Right? Everybody's heard that phrase, I'm imagining. A diamond has been forever. Actually, it's not been forever that a diamond has been forever. In fact, that phrase was coined, the idea was presented that a diamond ring was necessary in 1948 by De Beers. The actual diamond industry created this idea that when you get married, a diamond ring is a must. So it was done by saying a diamond is forever. And the slogan was used, it started all the way back in 1948. And this is the original ad that actually that coined the phrase "a diamond is forever." Before that period of time, I think it was, a gold band. And from what Felix that's on this presentation here today told me, maybe a goat. So you had to give her a gold band and a goat, and that would solidify the deal that you could get married. But in 1948, De Beers said a diamond is forever. And then it carried on into their most popular ad, which then also introduced not only is a diamond forever, but 2 months' salary showed the future Miss Smith what the future will be like. So now not only is a diamond forever, but it should cost as much as 2 months' salary. I don't know if that's a great thing or not.
I fell for it. So.
So that was their ad then. Currently today, this is their ad. So 2 months' salary, if she really loved you, would she expect you to spend that much on her? And now their new slogan is Diamond De Beers. It's just a rock. But you can see that it's also in a digital format. So with the evolution, the message evolves, but the message is what's connected and what's made that industry what it is today. There is scientific proof that advertising works. And how many of you guys remember this scene? So if you've watched the movie The Titanic, you can see that that's Rose at the top there. And there's something going on. She's either cooking or she was doing something in like the room 2 rooms away. But 2 rooms away, right, from where the TV is, she's sitting there doing something, completely not paying attention to the TV. And then all of a sudden something comes up about the Blue Diamond and the Titanic. And she comes up and says, "Turn that up, dear," from 2 rooms away, right? Here's another example. How many of you guys have been at a party, at a restaurant? There's all kinds of people there. There's a lot of loud crowd noise, but you really can't define what anybody's really talking about. You're sitting on one side of the room, and then all of a sudden from the other side of the room, you hear somebody say your name.
That's what the guy in green saw right there.
Yeah, we were talking about him. So you hear somebody say your name and immediately you hear that, right? That's part of how advertising works. And I'll explain in a second. One last example real quick. How many of you guys have actually gone to a car lot and you've picked out a vehicle and it is the vehicle? It's the vehicle you always wanted, you've never seen before, and it's in a color that you just can't ever imagine ever having had that color before, right? And then you leave the car lot. What do you see everywhere you go? That same car in that same model and in that same color all over the place. And you realize, holy cow, these cars are everywhere, right? Well, there's a reason behind all of that. And the reason behind all of that is called the RAS system, or the reticular activating system. I have to say that slowly because I mess that up all the time. It's a bundle of nerves in our brainstem that filters out the unnecessary information so that the important stuff gets through. So what happens is when I need something or when something is important to me, this bundle of nerves starts looking for it and listening for it everywhere I go. So for an example of how this works in advertising, Matt does IT work, right? If I don't need IT, I'm probably not thinking about that. If I don't have an issue with my computer, or I don't have an issue with my systems, or something didn't infect my computer systems or programs, I'm probably not thinking about it. But man, as soon as I do, I start looking for it, right? So the beauty about advertising and setting it up, digital marketing, setting it up the way that it's done with this is that these ads, the things that you're putting out, first of all, you get to identify the right customer or the right person that you want to do business with. You get to specifically market to that person, and you get to put it in places where they're most likely to see you. So they've been seeing your ad, and then all of a sudden they need you. and they see you on their televisions, they see you on their phones, they see you on their computers, they see you everywhere. And rather than you being some new opportunity that they've never done business with before, you appear as a familiar opportunity. Because even though they haven't been paying attention to you, subconsciously they've been seeing you, and now they're looking for you, and you're everywhere that you need to be. So that's how advertising works. The RES system helps you see what you want to see, and in doing so, influences your actions. So the whole point behind marketing is to do one thing. And if you remember this, out of everything I've talked about today, it's probably the one thing that you should remember about when you're planning your marketing, is that to be successful in today's media, you need to make sure that you are doing math. You're delivering the right message to the right audience at the right time. That's the most important thing in any kind of media, digital or otherwise. You want to make sure you're putting the right message in front of the right audience at the right time. Digital allows you to do that in a way that no other form of media can, because it's able to select your audience and put the specific message in front of the specific audience at the specific time that it makes a difference. Some of the types of media that you might use in digital marketing, this is a list of some of the stuff that we offer. And the funny thing is, since this presentation was put together, there's been quite a few things that have actually been added to this, because it is an ever-changing media landscape. So there's contextual advertising, is talking to people based on the context that they're consuming and making sure that you're targeting them when they're consuming content that's related to your business. If you would like an explanation of some of these other different types of digital media services or tactics, we can definitely get together and discuss the ones that would make the most sense for your business. But to go over one that pretty much everybody knows about, so that you can have a basic explanation of how things work, we will go ahead and talk about geofencing. Probably the one that it's been the buzzword for about 10 years, but it's the one that a lot of people have heard about and a lot of people have questions about. So I'll explain kind of how this thing works. The first thing that a digital marketing person will do is they will find the geography that you want to target with your campaign, and then they will cut into that geography and look for the demographic of the people that you want to see your advertising. And those are the type of people that you're going to be targeting with geofencing. They then go and they're going to put a virtual fence around the different locations, your competitors, or places where you believe your customers might go. And anybody that walks into that fenced area, they're going to try to capture the IP address of their mobile device. Once they're able to do that, then they can target all of their apps and most of their browser searches with the ads for your business. What happens after that is there's a conversion zone that's set up around your business. So now you're able to track the people that walked into that geofence location, saw your ad, and then also track whether or not they made it into your business. So you can see the conversion opportunity from people that have gone into those other businesses and then visited you. Event targeting is specifically talking about targeting events during a time of an event. So with the new Flamingo Stadium that's being built right now here in Florence, if you wanted to target the baseball games, you could target the baseball games specifically when those games are going on, and capture that audience that attended that event and put together specific ads that would target the audience that went to those baseball games. Or if you don't want the baseball games and you just want the little league games that go on there in the years coming, you can also just target during the time of those little league games. So that's a basic description of geofencing. It goes much deeper than that. By now, we can also cross device ID and connect not only the IP addresses of all the phones, but we can also find out the IDs and the ability to connect with their computers and every other device in their home that's connected through the same login. But I digress. So when you're looking for people to do business with digital marketing, there's a few things that you need to make sure that you consider. They need to be a consultant with you about your campaign. They need to be able to not only tell you that it's working, but how it's working and why it's important to you, so that there's more of an educational experience in this process than just being told. Strategy is always important because it's an ever-changing landscape. You need to make sure that the strategy that you have is up to date and that you're dealing with somebody that has access to the latest technology and opportunities for your business to reach your potential customers. Reporting is something that you should have access to. It shouldn't be something that you can only see once in a great while, because you need to be able to make sure that you're able to monitor the campaign and know that your money is working for you. Brand safety, the type of websites that we work with are all brand safe. So they're rated A and B by Google. They're also family friendly sites, meaning that you're not going to be served on any adult sites, dating sites where you don't want your message to be seen. You also need to know about fraud protection. There is a 35% fraud rate in digital marketing, and that's at the level of Google, which means there's people that should be working for NASA that are out there creating these fraudulent websites. If anybody's ever gone onto the internet and they clicked on a story because it looked really interesting, but then you can't read the story because of all the ads that are popping up in front of your face, that's called clickbait. Those are fraudulent websites. So to guard against that, there are second level companies out there like Comscore and other companies that most digital marketing firms are going to invest in to make sure that the sites that they serve your ads across are not fraudulent. With us, we actually make sure that there's no fraud involved in that. And if there is, we'll reimburse our customers up to 120% based on if they ever feel the effects of that happening. And then optimization is done in several different ways. Most of the time it's done through what's called a programmatic software, which means rather than siloing your budget off into any one of those different tactics that we saw on the previous screens, what will happen is they will keep your budget pooled and allow it to pull to where it's being most effective in your digital marketing campaign, because nobody can accurately predict consumer activity, but it can accurately be followed. And if they're using that kind of a programmatic software in your campaign, more than likely you're going to get a higher than average rate of return on the investment that you make with the digital marketing, at least higher than national standards. So those are the different types of things that cause campaigns to have great performance. And for my piece of this seminar, I think that's enough out of me. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Matt. So thank you very much for your time, and I will turn it over to you.
So guys, 100% everything that Josh said is spot on. In any business, you can only rely on word of mouth for so long to carry your business. So you need to be doing something in marketing. And passive ways of marketing, like letting a company like Josh kind of handle something, I highly recommend. The big thing though is once you start getting exposure, once you start, becoming a name brand, once you start, having lots and lots and lots of clients, that's great. Business is good. You're putting, food on the table for your family. You're going on awesome vacations. It's the kind of thing that everyone dreams of doing. But the one thing that often gets overlooked, and it's the hardest thing to scale, is your IT security. So in my role at Heritage, what I focused on is business risk mitigation and management. And we are specialized in IT because that is the biggest risk for any company that's out there. So I'll give you a brief overview of Heritage. Heritage Digital, we're headquartered in Florence, South Carolina. We've been in business since the mid-90s. One thing that's key for any business that you work with managing your IT is making sure that it's proactive and not reactive. So in about 2012, our company transitioned from break fix, like your CompuForce, something like that, where, hey, kind of Best Buy Geek Squad, my computer just broke, my server just crashed, I need it restored, I need it fixed immediately. That's not good for business. So what we did is in 2012, we had a new owner come in, and he transitioned us to managed services. Managed IT services in a nutshell basically boils down to everything on your IT network is protected by one company. So your internet connections being set up by one company, your emails are being set up by one company, your backups of your servers, your backups of your workstations, your backup of your email, your Wi-Fi, your security at a high level is all being managed by one company to make sure that you stay operating, you stay working, you keep your efficiencies up, your productivity up, and that leads to greater profits. So what I try and do is I try and help businesses figure out where their weak links are to make sure that they are optimizing their business to make the most money possible. And an ideal relationship with a company like ours, you would want to have unlimited IT support 24/7, and you want to be focused on security. You don't want to be calling them for issues. They should be calling you ahead of time to make sure that you're properly focused on your business and not focused on your IT. Quickly here, you'll see basically what we do. We are 100% 24/7 monitoring, backup and disaster recovery. If we have a hurricane, our clients don't have to worry about that. So make sure if you're working with somebody, they're doing all of these things. Your business is the central focus here for any managed services and security company. So just, take a look at that. If you want to take a screenshot of it, I know that we're going to send this recording out to everybody, so you'll have ample time to review all of that. So one of the things that I really enjoy doing is telling a story. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, and I think it's an easy metaphor for all of our businesses. In the story of the Three Little Pigs, you have three pigs that leave their mother, they go out into the world, and they're going to start a life. Each pig has a different way of doing it, but I like to think of each pig's house as your business, your nest egg, the thing that you need to protect most for your livelihood. So if you haven't heard the story of Three Little Pigs, I'm going to do a little rendition of it. But we'll start with the first thing. The three little pigs go on their way. And obviously you have the big bad wolf who's hiding and waiting. So think about this as, any kind of thing that's a risk to your business. There's a big bad wolf around the corner all the time, and you need to be prepared for it. So what do the three little pigs do? Well, they each had a different way to build their house, and in our case, build their business. One little pig used straw, one little pig used sticks, and one used bricks. And I think this is really important to kind of stop here and think about, how you build your business. I mean, people have limited resources to start. I mean, people don't automatically become Amazon. I mean, Amazon might be the bricks here, and you might have the straw being some other kind of company. I mean, I remember when I was in college, I had a friend that had a car detailing business they did on weekends. Obviously they don't have the money and infrastructure to build up like Amazon did on the security side, so they did what they could. But as you can see, there's obviously weak links in all three of these houses, or like I like to say, your business. So what happened next? Well, the big bad wolf had been following them around, waiting for an opportunity. So he huffed and he puffed and he blew the first little three pigs' house down. That was with straw. I mean, obviously straw is going to be a lot easier to blow down than sticks, but sticks can still be blown down, and the big bad wolf huffed and puffed and blew that business down too. The last one was made of brick. And so no matter what the big bad wolf did, he could huff and he could puff as long as he wanted to, but he just could not blow that house down. So what we want to do here is we want to try and make our business or our house a brick house. We want to make sure there's no cracks in the foundation. We want to make sure that we build up properly when we can. Even if it takes us a long time to do it, we want to get to a house that can't be blown down. So on the business side of things, who is your big bad wolf? Well, from a security standpoint, and the number one thing you'll see on the news every single night is cybercrime. Cybercrime's up 122% this year, and it's not crazy to understand why. A lot of people are sitting at home with not much to do. So you have these guys that Josh said should be working for NASA, and who are they working for? They're working for themselves. And when you see like these big things like the oil pipeline ransomware, and you see these big cities that are being ransomware, honestly, those aren't the ransomware you should be worried about. You should be worried about the folks that are high school age kids trying to impress their friends, college age kids, folks that just got out of college, people that are handy with technology, because what they're doing is they're having to prove themselves to rise up and, for lack of a better word, hacker big leagues. So they're attacking where they can. They're finding the easy prey. And unfortunately, the easy prey are the folks that are living in the straw houses and the stick houses. There's always a way in, and it needs to be shored up. So some things they're trying to get is your identity, your password, your banking information with your business. They have ways to hack in. They're trying to get your username. They're trying to get your account. What they're trying to do is build a picture of you, build a picture of your business, find a way into your business to get your customers' data. Because the most important thing for any business is your client information, their purchases, how they've made those purchases. That's what they're trying to get. They don't care about your business individually. They don't care that you are in Florence, South Carolina, a small town. They're casting a big net and they're finding every fish they can in that net. So they're fishing. It doesn't matter if it's a big ocean or not. They're going to catch as much as they can, and they don't care. You're not business XYZ to them. That's so important because of this. You are $ here, $ there, in an effort to make more and more money through hacking. So let's talk quickly about how the big bad wolf will huff and puff and blow your house down. Well, obviously everyone hears about ransomware attacks. That's a big one. Your username and password. If you don't have a firewall in place that's business grade, that's updated, patched all the time, you're likely entering in your username and password into whatever site you're going to in clear text. So while it might show up as asterisks for you or bullet points for you, the other person on the other side of that network can see exactly what you're entering. So they can go into an application and they can be you. There's no digital fingerprint on the World Wide Web right now. There's ways to secure it that we focus on, but honestly, 99% of companies that I go into and I give them advice and I advise them, they're operating this way. It's very scary. Backing up your data. Backing up your data is a crazy thing that a lot of people don't do. So let's just say you do have an attack. How are you going to get your data back? Are you going to pay them $5,000, $10,000, $100,000? Who has that money sitting around? That can cripple a business. Little things like, someone sends you an email and they change the L in heritagedigital.com to heritagedigital.com. I don't know, that's not my coworker. I have to be very, very careful. But if I had an anti-phishing, anti-spam thing set up on my email box, I know that the person I'm talking to is the right person. So there's a million different ways things can happen, and your IT is critical. And I bring that up just to show you how quickly a house can break. I don't care if you're Amazon. Amazon is getting attacked a million times a day by folks just trying to get everyone's data. And let's talk about why that's happening. Who doesn't use Amazon? Who hasn't used Amazon to purchase something? So if they can get into Amazon, they're getting 1 million people, 2 million people. So they're attacking Amazon, but at the same time, look how easily you can crack straw, you can crack hay, you can snap a stick. There is no one foolproof way to keep cybercrime out of your business, but you have to have a multi-layered attack, a multi-layered model to make sure that you're doing everything possible that in case the worst thing happens, you're protected and your client's data is protected. So like we're talking about, why does that matter? Your client's information should stay anonymous. If you can tell by this picture here, there's a lot of folks, a lot of clients, but you can't tell their facial features. You don't know if that's Matt. You don't know if that's Josh. That's the way it should be, because if you have cybercrime that happens and your credentials are compromised, you're not just losing these clients on screen, you're losing the people they talk to. Word of mouth is the biggest risk of any kind of for any business when it comes to negative attention. They say that only 10% of people pass on positive attention and 90% of people will pass on negative attention, negative words. So your clients are your most valuable commodity. And let's face it, when your IT works properly, when you're not sitting there staring at your computer screen trying to figure something out, that's complex, you're able to work. And when you're able to work, your business works. You're able to have 6 hands, 6 arms like this guy does, so he can get a lot of stuff done. And when your business works, your company grows, your profits increase, you're able to expand, you're able to hire new people, you're able to impact the economy at a local level, which is really, really important. So if you have any questions, please, I'm happy to answer any questions. I know Josh is as well. We're here to help. If you'd like to figure out what's going on your network, we'll do a free assessment, no strings attached, just let you know where you're at, give you recommendations, and we understand time, budget, but we'll give you some rock solid foundation to go with, because having a plan is better than not having a plan. And even when I talk to folks and they have an audit coming up of their business, if they just have a plan, even if it's not financially feasible at the moment, that's a lot better than the alternative. So we'll give you a free assessment, no strings attached. You can come by our office. We're right next to Town Hall, downtown Florence, in the old Guarantee Bank building. My contact information is there. Feel free to ask me any questions you have. It's so much easier to scale properly than, scaling up as necessary, as opposed to getting big and then trying to get the scale to work. That filling those holes can be very expensive. So with that, we'll turn over to questions. Thank you guys so much. And we're here for as long as you need us.
Does anybody have any questions?
I believe we have it where you can unmute. So if anyone has specific questions that they want to ask, please unmute yourself. Well, while everyone is gaining the nerve to ask a question, let me ask a question.
Okay.
So one is for Josh, the notion of combining tactics. So for small businesses using purely just traditional and digital, is that a recommendation, or do you see that there's a way of blending and adjusting throughout the whole process? And then I have a question for Matt after you answer that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So traditional media still works. It's not gone. And honestly, what happens is with traditional, when you add any kind of a platform, so if you're doing, say you're doing digital media and you want to add television or print or radio or some other type of traditional media to that campaign, it actually increases the effectiveness of the campaign by up to 19%. So multiple platforms. It should all be just predicated basically on your budget, of what you can afford and what is going to be the most effective use of that budget towards getting you in front of the right people, or the message in front of the right audience at the right time. And
well,
That
in that
answer
same, in that same question, when someone approaches digital marketing, what questions or what answers should they already have in mind? Should they already have identified who they're trying to target? Do you help them establish that approach? Because digital marketing seems very broad and wide. So how did they start that conversation?
So the conversation would be started with exactly that, a conversation. Before I would ever present anything or there's no one size fits all with digital marketing. It is definitely something that should be customized to the needs of the client. So know what you're trying to accomplish, have a good idea of who your target audience is, and have a decent idea of the budget that that is something that you are comfortable with using, and then an understanding that digital is all based on data. So data takes time to collect. It also takes time to refine and streamline and make sure that it's working properly and getting you the results that you're looking for. So I'd say those are the only things that you would need to bring to the table with to start the conversation about digital. After that, just make sure that you're working with somebody that knows what they're talking about and can make sure to get you into the places where you are going to get the most benefit out of, get the most for the dollars that you're going to spend on that.
And would you also say that with digital marketing, with the reporting side of digital marketing, there's a tracking mechanism that may not be present in traditional media or traditional marketing?
So the old adage used to be, I know 50% of my marketing is working, I just don't know which 50% that it is, right? Because there was no real way, no solid proof of tracking. But with digital media, it's all trackable. Pretty much anything you do online is able to be tracked, which also leads into what Matt does is there's good and bad to that. The good side of that for marketing purposes is you can see all the way through to your ROI in a lot of cases as to what you invested, who you were able to reach, how much engagement they had, how much of that you can actually look at attribution models of how it was attributed to your business. And then based on that, what kind of money did you make out of it? There's never been any kind of media in the past that's been able to show you that kind of follow through. But And the old way of setting marketing up was, you would set up your traditional marketing based on what you believed worked, and then you would add your digital stuff in. The model it's moving into today is you set up your digital marketing because it's going to give you the data on what really works, and then you're going to set up your traditional marketing based on the actual real data that the digital stuff is produced. So that's where that's transitioning to. Hopefully I answered the question.
You did answer the question. And the same question for Matt. When someone approaches the conversation of IT and the needs of their business for IT, how do they approach that conversation? What do they need to have in mind? What their current plan is plus their growth plan? Can you add as things grow? If you're using third-party systems like a e-commerce site, how does that build into your business needing separate IT services? So talk about it from that point of view.
Yeah, so the big thing there is the first thing, if you are ever having any kind of questions about your IT network, your IT security, what you're doing online as it pertains to your business, the very first thing to do is to call a managed services company and ask for an assessment. Majority of the time, an assessment will cost some money. So, make sure you try to negotiate with that company and say, hey, I want to just figure out what's going on, and be willing to spend some money, because the IT company wants to make sure that you're actually interested. So let them do an assessment. And, I also recommend getting multiple assessments. You want to see who uncovers more. If you got, like, for this group right here, if you guys want to have us do an assessment, we'll do it at no cost for you, but we'll actually talk to you. We'll ask you a lot of questions. We'll try and figure out what your needs are, because it's going to be a tailored approach to you. Not everybody needs all the bells and whistles that come with some of our contracts. I mean, I don't know how many folks on this call actually have a server, or, have their own firewall, or have their own email. I mean, one thing that I would definitely recommend to everybody is don't use a Gmail account for your business unless it's Google Business. All of our clients use Microsoft Outlook. Make sure that you have a business grade email, because that's the first weak link you're going to have is your email account. But as far as questions, ask, what is the risk of me not doing this? Ask that to multiple people, because you're going to have an idea of how it's going to affect your business. Because at the end of the day, you want to be working, you want to be productive. So maybe jot down a list of things that happen over the course of a month. Just keep a notepad by your computer and say, this slowed me down by 15 minutes a day. This slowed me down by 20 minutes a day. I repeatedly have this issue, or, that way you kind of know what you're running into and the things that are impacting your business. Because at the bottom line, a managed services company should be there to protect you, but also be a benefit to you. So you are able to work, not just, put the stuff up that protects you from the bad guys, but also allows you to manage your business and scale properly and be able to be doing your business 100% of the time, because that's your livelihood. That's how you make money. That's how you provide for your family, and you do fun things in your life. So jot down that list and think about, talking to multiple folks, get a true IT assessment done, and then, just have a conversation. You have to understand the risk. And unfortunately, folks don't always understand the risk. They get excited about opening their business, and then it's like drinking from a fire hose. It's just, there's a million things going on. IT doesn't need to be something that you're worried about on a day-to-day basis. Did I do a good job answering that question, Brown, or do you have anything else?
You answered the question, but whenever you're talking about getting multiple assessments, is this one of like Josh could be serving digital marketing, digital marketing agency could be on the West Coast serving the East Coast, because the mechanisms are still the same. Does that still apply to IT managed services? Do you need to find someone within your territory, or can it be somewhere in a completely different state on the other side of the US?
So it can be in a completely different side of the country. Just us personally, we have clients in California, Florida, Alabama, North Carolina, Georgia. I'm probably forgetting a few states there. But 99% of the stuff that we need to do, I should say 99.9% of the stuff that we need to do, we can do remotely. We have networking tools that are able to do a quick assessment that's non-intrusive, non-invasive, that allow us to get a full feel of your entire network wherever you are. And then we can actually program everything internally, drop ship it to an office. All the client or prospect would have to do is just plug it into the wall and connect the internet to it, and all of a sudden we are able to monitor and maintain your network no matter how far away you are. So there's no geographic limits to what we can do.
To that end too, there's also no geographic limits on the digital marketing side of it either. I have clients in Alaska. I have a friend that owns a restaurant, a catering business, and an event center up in Alaska, and is working on putting together a plan with me. I have an attorney firm in Louisville, Kentucky. So that's the great part about the internet. Is that you can do business anywhere with anyone at any time. That's also the scary thing about the internet, is that anyone, anywhere, anytime could be trying to get into your business as well. So it's always good to cover both sides.
Yeah, you got to get business and you got to protect the business.
Does anyone else have any questions? Because I have one more question. I don't want to keep answering. I had a lot of questions throughout that I was asking because individuals asked me and I didn't have the answers.
John, did you have a question, John?
Oh, we saw your mic flickering. It's okay.
Okay.
I guess go ahead, Brianna. What else you got for us?
I was asking him to unmute. I'm not sure. I saw it flicker too. So whenever you're talking about everything can be done remotely on both sides, there are an awful lot of scams. So people fronting that you need to pay for Google services, which isn't true. If someone's contacting you or you're contacting someone and they're wanting to do an IT assessment, how do you verify truly that these are individuals who say they are legitimate and they have the protections in place, that you're not really about to hand over access to very sensitive information, both on the IT side and the digital marketing side? Because digital marketing, you're actually allowing access into social media accounts. So it's a very fine line of trust. So how do you address the certainty of these are legitimate individuals that you're going to be engaging with?
I'll start off there, Josh, and I'll be really quick. So the clients that we have throughout the United States were all referrals.
Yep.
So these were folks that we didn't, digitally market. We didn't target them. We didn't market directly to them. It was word of mouth referrals. We did a good job for somebody locally. That opportunity, came to be somewhere else. I would 100% be very weary of working with anybody that you cannot physically go to their brick and mortar site, have a real meeting with them. I would be weary of that. And look, it doesn't have to be, brick and mortar in the sense of, here's where their business is. I mean, Brianna does a great job with this incubator. Just come to a safe spot where that, it's reputable. Don't put yourself in a position to give up any credentials, anything about your business, anything about you personally with somebody that you don't have the opportunity to physically meet. Do every bit of research you can. If you just type in a company name and scam on Google, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to find out that this person's been scamming a lot of people. So the best advice I can give you is be very wary, be very, very, very unsure of anything that you can't, that's not a reputable business. Go to their website, do all the research you can, but, reach out to somebody, I don't know. That's a tough one because I'll let Josh talk about that's tough. We wouldn't recommend it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. If anybody calls you and says that they are from Google, just hang up. More than likely, Google's not going to be calling you. But as far as doing business with digital marketing, doing business with somebody, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So if you don't feel that way about somebody, if you get that gut feeling that this might not be the right thing to do, don't do it. And then do more research before you make that decision. There are a lot of digital marketing firms out there, and they are good, but I would only do business with people that I was able to meet. When I meet my vendors, the people that I work with to serve the advertising that I sell and stuff like that, even though they work on a national and sometimes international level with the clients that they serve, I've still had an in-person meeting with them to make sure that the people that I'm dealing with are the people that I want to deal with. So I would always recommend, before you sign a contract, before you give out information, make sure that you're at least able to Zoom or have some sort of an in-person meeting where it makes you feel comfortable that you can know, like, and trust those people before you do any of those three things.
And one other thing that I'll add, and I know Josh does this because I've worked with Josh before. We do this as well. We have a testimonial book. We have a testimonial on our website. If any client ever has a question about us, we freely give the testimonials of our clients, and they've already agreed to let anybody call them and ask them about our services, what we provide. So if it's make sure that's available. First and foremost, if you're trying to work with someone that doesn't have a single testimonial about them, that they can't provide someone for you to talk to, and understand, like, make sure that if you do go nationally, I mean, there are not a million, there are a couple really, high-end national companies that do managed services like me, and they're legit. Then you'll be able to quickly realize they're legit. But if you start seeing what I call a chuck in a truck, a guy that's just kind of going around helping people with IT, not really a monthly contract, those are the people to be wary of. But make sure they have a testimonial, make sure they have references, double check those references, make sure those references are real companies. You don't just want to walk in and say, oh yeah, you call somebody and all of a sudden it's his wife answering the phone saying, hey, yeah, they did a great job. Do your research. But number one, the first thing is, do research on the company, and then also make sure that you are, following up with their current clients to make sure they're a real company and that they do a good job. I mean, past just making sure they're real or not, make sure they do a good job. You don't want to get in business with somebody that someone else is trying to get out of business with. Make sure you're calling those folks.
I actually had that happen to me in this very, they actually called you as a referral. I had a client here that wanted a list, and she did her due diligence. I even did a post on it on Facebook afterwards because I was like, cool, somebody actually did it.
Yeah.
And I gave her a list of clients that I'd worked with, and she called every single one of them and talked to all of them.
Yeah.
That is the smart way to do business, doing your due diligence and making sure you're not putting yourself in a bad situation. So
Josh, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So I know that it's important to always update your content on your website as a small business, but let's say that you're a small business that doesn't necessarily, do all your business online, like you're maybe a storefront, so you just have a website basically for people to contact you, a way for them to contact you. I guess, what's the level of importance for a business like that to update the content on their website regularly?
It's still pretty important because whether or not you're selling things online, that's the place people are going to go to find you. If I have never done business with you before and I don't know where you're located, I'm going to look online. And most of the time where I'm going to look is Google, right? So I want to make sure, because if Google says that's who I should deal with, then more than likely I'm going to trust what they have to say. But three of the things that they usually reference when they're putting people into those positions of search online in the organic listing section is the relativity of the content that's on the website. How relative is it? How updated is that information that's on that website? The ease of the use of the consumer and being able to navigate that website to find that content. And then the popularity of the site, how many times, how many people have visited it. So those are important things, at least to keep up to date. Making sure your website, because honestly, that is the online version of your brick and mortar store. So you could be on a hole in a wall. You could be a hole in a wall location, but you can look like a Taj Mahal on the internet, and it would cause more people to want to do business with you. And unfortunately, you could be also the same thing. You could have a Taj Mahal business and it's gorgeous, but because your web presence doesn't represent that, nobody knows that about you, because that's the first place that they're going to go, and that's the first time that they're going to judge you. So it's good for research results. It's also good for making sure that you're giving people the correct appearance of who you really are.
And with websites in particular, the best analogy that I've ever heard for a website and making sure that, it's searchable, it's findable, people can get to you, is if you guys have ever been at a party, at a restaurant, or at a bar, and you see, this beautiful woman or very handsome man, at the other side of the room, and you're like, wow, that person just is a gorgeous, amazing person. I want to go meet that person. And then you get there and you realize, wow, the perfume is nasty. The breath's not great. They use curse words, are not very, knowledgeable, educated, that kind of thing. If you have a pretty website on the surface on Google, but the guts of that website aren't great, like they don't stand up in the Google algorithm, the Google search engine is going to treat you like that person that at the other side of the bar or restaurant that once they dig in and get to know you, they don't really want to spend much time with you. So make sure that you're doing a really good job with your website. Josh does a fantastic job with websites. He makes sure that the SEO is functioning and it has like the inner guts to make sure that people are finding you. So there's a lot that goes into websites. I mean, Josh and I could do a master class on website builds. That's something that's ever changing. So be very cognizant and aware of what your website is portraying of you.
Actually, we have a search expert here on the call with us today, Felix, that is logged into this and is listening. So hopefully I answered that correctly, Felix. You can correct me if I'm wrong. He's not correcting me. That's good.
Yeah.
No correction needed.
No,
Yes.
there we go.
All right. Is there any other questions you guys have?
And if you won't, feel free to reach out to us individually. We're always here to help you guys, whatever you need, guys and girls, I should say. But we're always here to help. So if you have any questions, just bounce it off of us. We're really excited for you and what you're doing in this community. And we want to be there every step of the way to help.
Yeah. And it's free advice. For me anyways.
Yeah.
I'm not going to charge you an hourly rate. Between the two of us, as far as managed services or in media, we've held some pretty decent positions and have some fairly lofty expertise on a lot of different topics. If you have questions about any of your media related things that you got going on, I know that our information was sent out with this. You're more than welcome to reach out to me and ask me anything. It will definitely be some free advice and you can choose whether to take it or leave it. But I really appreciate you guys allowing me to talk about this with you today.
Yeah, thanks for spending this time with us. I mean, it's an important topic and you guys were locked in the entire time. So thank you.
Thank you, Josh and Matt. I know that the audience was quiet, but I certainly hope they take you up on the opportunity to ask questions, because I think this is one of those things that when you start thinking about it after this, you start seeing, much like the IT and the digital, like how it's all working. So definitely, if you're on this, please feel free to reach out to them. I didn't get my normal spiel of this is not an endorsement of these two individuals. They were very kind to share this information, but they are genuine in their invitation to answer questions. So we will wrap this up now. We'll send out this recording as well as information that both Josh and Matt will provide that we'll send along with that email. If you have questions, please feel to reach out to me or my team or to Josh and Matt directly. And I thank you so much for being here. One final note is that there are FMU students who are on this call. If you are not specific on your name, we don't know who you are. So if you're the iPhone that's a student and there's one other student that may be here that did not identify as a FMU student, please email us and let us know, or we cannot get the credit for that. Okay, Cyrus Mack is the iPhone user. Okay, thank you so much to the students who participated too. Just know that these are two individuals that you can reach out to answer questions that you may have. So please use these resources. They are here for everyone's benefit to learn more. That's why we do this. So again, thanks to Josh and Matt, and everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you guys.
See you later.
Thank you.